My name is Louie. I'm the founder of Ascend Aerials, and we are a video production company who specializes in the usage of UAS. Most people call them drones. We create marketing reels as our core competency, everything from single-family residential to luxury resorts, all real estate offerings. We interface in the construction industry, and we'll eventually push into TV and film. In fact, we're going to be pushing into news gathering as well. There are a couple different components of that. The first one component is this flight schooling that has taught me sort of aerodynamics and the parameters at which fixed-wing aircraft will operate. But I've learned a lot about sort of ground effect that you have to deal with. There's certain things that I've learned that the common person just doesn't know unless they're taught this. But the second piece is about the actual flying of the UAS or the copters. I often use copters as well. And whenever I began, it wasn't so consumer friendly. So you had to almost have like I almost described it as like a prosumer approach. You had to teach yourself, like for example, I had to learn how to solder, and I had to figure out which components would make the specific copter to deliver exactly what I wanted to do on my own. You know, I went to the internet to find out what I could do, but there wasn't a lot of information at the time, a couple years ago, and so you're kind of inventing as you go. You have some trial and error that's occurring, and then once you land on your product and you push forward, it happened to be that as I finally figured it out, some months later, not many months later, like a very consumer-friendly product came out with what I had like spent months and months figuring out. But yeah, so it's very important so we had to learn how to first get what we needed to operate, to build what we needed to operate. Once we did that, we had to learn how to fly it and do it safely. And so just through trial and error, I've learned like a certain level of process checklist that you need to apply in order to do it safely. And it's very important to sort of do that. And from a safety standpoint, as far as the public is concerned, I think it's incumbent upon all companies that operate in this space to do their part in educating in that capacity. And so we'll start with our employees, of course, but whenever we're interfacing with the public, we'll do our best to sort of paint the picture of how to do it properly and safely. But yeah, so I have developed already a system. Our company has a system of how we will operate internally in a safe capacity, and so all new employees will have to sort of undergo that training. There exists, and it's still kind of a ragtag situation. There exists some certifications that you can get as a UAS operator, but it's like, you know, who knows who's going to be the accredited person or what. So while it's all good information to get, it would probably be smart to do all the accreditations. There will eventually land, the new legislation I assume will land on some sort of training requirement or accreditation that will be involved, that will be related to the FAA, I'm sure. But yeah, so there's a great deal that you have to learn. It's not rocket science by any means. A child literally can operate one of these quadcopters that you can buy in like the mall, the little guys, and eventually a child can operate the largest UAS that exists with the right amount of knowledge, but gaining that knowledge is paramount. That's what's most important in order to do it safely. You could pick up the controls of a copter, a child could pick up the controls of a copter, but it could have the sort of same catastrophic consequences as trying to control a plane in flight. So it's like the same thing that you're dealing with. In fact, you're operating in the same airspace sometimes, in many cases, and so that's another reason that this pilot requirement is, I think, valid and important, because I need to understand the last thing that anyone would want to do, I believe, is to interfere with any type of manned flight, especially if there are passengers on board, which there would be if it's manned flight. So yeah, so the education is very important, both internally and then also externally. You've seen in the news probably the hobby flyers that were inhibiting firefighters from putting out forest fires. This is the sort of thing that it's difficult to believe, but I think that it's solvable with the right amount of knowledge and the right amount of education. And so if we manage that properly, that is the solution. It's just a matter of sort of delivering that information, which I think is forthcoming, just sort of slowly forthcoming.